Hello and welcome. My name is Shannon, and today we're going to do some arts and crafts on behalf of the Fuquay-Varina Art Center as we're working towards creating at home. We are going to get ready for watercolor for beginners in today's class, and we're going to get set up with our equipment and with our space in order to make sure that we are able to start creating in watercolor for beginners. So what you're going to want is an area where you can work on a flat surface. You can also use a raised surface like an easel, and that is clean and clear so that you'll have room for your materials as well as good lighting that's available. I always prefer natural light over artificial light. However, anything will work as long as you can see the different colors that you're putting down. So today we're going to talk about paper, we're going to talk about brushes, and we're going to talk about paint. So you can go to the arts and crafts supply store. You can order from an online source pretty much anywhere to be able to get watercolor paper. When you're thinking about watercolor paper and you're looking at the different options, you're going to see that there are watercolor options for cold press paper and watercolor paper options that are hot press. The difference between the two is the amount of tooth that is on the paper. And by tooth, I mean texture. So the hot press papers are going to be a smoother texture. They're not going to be as bumpy as watercolor paper, and they're going to allow for more detailed, realistic looking work. Cold press paper has a better tooth to it. There's more bite to the paper. There's more texture to the paper. And that's going to give you that bumpy watercolor paper feel that most of us are familiar with. You're also going to see that they come in different sizes and different poundage, different weights. I recommend a cold press 140 pound paper. And you can use them everything from a very small watercolor pad like this one, and it's a 4x6 size. So your finished product will look something along the lines of this little guy. So nice 4x6 size, all the way up to larger sheets of paper. So I also have a book here that is 9x12. And so you can do larger items here. This book is spiral bound, which I enjoy personally. It's perforated so that you can easily tear your work and take it out of the sketchbook should you like to. And I also love to sketch and work in watercolor in my smaller notebook size sketchbook. This one is a 5.5 by 8.5 inch 140 pound cold press paper. It's basically up to you. What is your pleasure? This is another form of a 9x12, and as you'll see, it is a fold over the top. It is not spiral bound, and it's got a glue top so that you can easily take your pages out should you wish to. The other thing that I want to mention about paper is that you might want to try both cold press and hot press to see what it is that you prefer to work with. It's very easy to start with one and get used to that and not want to move to another one. They are both existing so that you can play with both and see what you like the best. When it comes to the weight of the paper, the heavier the weight of the paper, the more layering that you can do with colors. So if you want to have special paper that is made to be used with water, as watercolor paper is, it is important to pick up a watercolor paper. You may do cold press, you may do hot press, depending on what your preference is for how much texture is on the paper, but you want to get a good weight so that as you're laying down water, it's not going to warp the paper too much. Now, one tip I will give you, if you have any kind of masking tape or removable tape in your world, I like to use washi tape, and I have some here I'll show you. Washi tape is a Japanese tape. It's removable, and so it comes on a little roll like this, and it is tacky. But when I put it on my paper, as you can see in my daffodil example that I did earlier, I tape down the edges, and that helps with two things. One is warping. So as I'm putting down water on the paper to create the image, it helps to keep the paper flat. And if you're specifically taping for warping, then I recommend taping either just the two sides or just the top and bottom. It'll help in warping. But as you'll see here, what I've got is a nice crisp edge all the way around that image. And I think that's really special. And it gives a nice finished look to your watercolor project. And that is simply using washi tape that is secured down all the way around the image and painting. And then once it's dried, pulling the washi tape away. And in future technique videos, when we are painting together, I will show you exactly how that works. But washi tape might also be something that you would like to have on your list of supplies so that you can also tape down to prevent warping and to create nice, smooth, strong edges on your work. Now the next thing that we're going to talk about is the brush. Watercolor brushes come in all shapes and sizes, as you'll see here. So we've got flat brushes, we have round brushes, you can see. And then we also have fan brushes, which are fun. It's a fan brush, okay? The brushes that I use most regularly are round, and I use a round 6, and it always is going to have a little number on here when you go to the art store, when you're online looking. It'll have a little number on here that'll tell you how big it is. The smaller number is the smaller brush, the higher the number is the larger brush. I also use a round 2. These are my 2 most popular brushes every time that I go to paint. And if you start with just these 2, you can get most of the techniques, especially as you're just getting started in watercolor. You do not have to go out and buy a whole lot of brushes at this time. If you want something bigger, if you have a different project that you'd like to work with, there are all types of different ones that you can get. Whatever is your preference, but you do not have to go out and buy a whole lot of brushes to get started. We also have water pens available to us as we go out shopping, and a water pen is pretty cool. It's also a round tip brush, and essentially you fill up this reservoir here with water, and you're able to, when you turn it upside down, you can squeeze it a little bit. It lets water into the tip, and you can use it that way, and it gives you a nice brush, and you don't have to carry water back and forth to your studio or to your office or your dining room table, wherever it is that you happen to be creating. If you're not using a water brush, you are going to have a source of water to use with your regular brushes. And so you can simply pick up a little pot of water. This is my favorite to use. It's a little ball jar, mason jar that I found in my kitchen. And it's nice and large and it's squat. And one thing I will say about the water when you are using watercolor is to keep your water as clean as possible. As you are working through projects, you are going to have constant dipping in of your paint into your water. And so keep it as clean as possible, because as you dip in, you're also going to be transferring the color of your water, so you can only get your paintbrush so clean. You're also going to want a little square of a kitchen towel, like a paper towel, or you can even use an old washcloth or something of that nature. And it's a blotting paper. So as you're dipping into your water, as you're dipping into your paint, sometimes you're going to want to dab a little bit onto your paper towel. So have one of those available to you as well. One of the things that you're also going to want to notice is that as we're laying in paint and we're creating an image, and you can see some here. So essentially I go through and draw in my image first, and then start to paint and fill in from there. There are some when we don't do any lines at all and we simply start to paint and use the shapes given to us and have an image come forth. I will tell you this is, number one, trust yourself and try to freehand it. You can use images that are available from artists. You can use images that are available online, and you can pull images to be able to trace and to go over. So I have an example here of a project that I did recently with another group of artists. And this was a young lady created this outline for us to be able to use. And so you can transfer this to your paper in one of 3 ways. The first is to purchase tracing paper and to trace it onto your watercolor paper. The second is to use graphite paper and to transfer the image by following the lines with a pencil or with a soft pen over the lines and over the graphite paper, and it will transfer to your watercolor paper. And the third option is simply to eyeball it and put the lines down on the paper and to draw it yourself. And I would encourage you to try to do that. Don't be scared of that. I originally thought that there's no way that I could hand draw anything, but using reference photos and things of that nature, it's just about putting lines and images together and having them just sketched out enough so that you can add color to them, and they become these beautiful things that you just surprise yourself. In that same vein, I'm going to tell you now to get yourself a good eraser. Okay, so this is a Prismacolor plastic eraser. It's that gummy kind, so it doesn't leave a lot of residue on your paper when you need to erase. This is also good for when you're using a regular soft lead pencil. You can draw it in and then go back and lightly erase the lines, and that's going to help you as well, because you don't want your pencil lines showing up and glaring through your paints. Your paints are transparent, and so any lines that you draw in are going to be evident, and so you want them as light as possible. The other option is to use watercolor pencils. If you have a watercolor pencil at home, then it's already built in with watercolor principles, and so when you draw in, then then when the water hits it, it's going to blend into the colors that you're adding to your paper as well. The next thing that you're going to need is a palette, and you can use anything from a plain white plate that you have at home. You can have a butcher's tray like this. That's very inexpensive to get online. It is great. I love this thing. It was recommended to me by another artist, and I enjoy it so much. I started out with a little plastic palette like this that has different wells in it. So, and you can see where I've used this a lot. And so anything that you have that you can put paint down and blend from it is a great thing to have in your studio while you're working. And the last thing that we're going to talk about is paint. So there are different types of paint that you can get. One is in a tray, not unlike this. Okay, and so these are little pots of watercolor that have been created, that have already been kind of blended out to different colors. And it goes from light to dark in all of the different vibrancies of hues and values. All right, so, and this even, I'll pull color off of this and I will put it on my palette so that I can do special blending on this tool, even with a pot like this. So pull out your plates and let's paint on those. The second is to get tubes of color. Now, these tubes of color, don't be scared of these just because they don't look like this, which is what we've been used to using. Okay, these are wonderful. They come out as little gel squeezes, almost like a toothpaste, in their colors. So this is black, and it has all kinds of different colors, and we'll learn how to blend color together. But ultimately, you can get the little tubes. The second is, the third option on paint colors is also to get, and I don't have any of these with me right now, is a liquid paint option. So they have watercolor that comes in a liquid option. It's in a little bottle, and you simply put a couple of drops onto your palette, and you can use that to start from. So whatever type of paint you have, whatever type of paint you like, it is great. Make sure that you're looking for transparent paint. It's important as you start to blend and layer colors on top of each other. There are also really fun palettes that you can pick up. I am in love with this one. It's all metallic accent watercolors. So this is a little pastel and metallic tray, and it is just so fun. I love to work with this. So that's it. The only other thing that you need to get started in watercolor is an open mind and a willingness to just try and just put a paintbrush in your hand and start creating. So go gather all of your tools and your equipment and come right back here, and the next time that we get together we will start to paint, and I will show you all of the different ways that we can use watercolor paint to create something beautiful together. Thank you for being here, and I look forward to seeing you next time.